Hello and welcome to another episode of The Living Philosophy. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Nietzsche again and about the ancient Greek god Dionysus. And I just want to explore the why Dionysus is a later god. So Dionysus is the last born of the gods in Greek mythology. He's the twice born. So he's initially born from his mother and then he's born from the side of Zeus's thigh. And Dionysus is a really interesting god. Nietzsche is very much enamored with him. When he went crazy, he had 5 letters, and in the days after he went insane, and he signed them Dionysus the Crucified, which is fascinating. But even his first book was about it's called The Birth of Tragedy, out of the spirit of music, and he's talking about the Apollonian and the Dionysian aspects of ancient Greek society. And the Dionysian is the unrestrained. There was the Bacchic revelries back in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and these were the bacchanals was kind of a place where you'd almost lose your mind. You lose your inhibitions. They were like orgies. There were people getting hammered, drunk, and kind of losing their minds in some sense. And it was just pure revelry, and it was I guess a release valve for the wildness of the spirit, those lower instincts that need to be honored and lived, because we know that if you don't honor them consciously, then they will leak out unconsciously, and that's a good thing for no man. So Nietzsche explores this thing of the Dionysian and the need for the Dionysian and the getting lost in dance, getting lost in music, getting lost in this revelry, and it's so important for him. And I guess it changes throughout his development. And I'll do another video going a detail into that concept of the Dionysian and the Apollonian. But today I just want to talk about why is Dionysus a late development god. And I think the reason for that is because it's about reconnecting with those lower instincts. It's the Dionysian revelries, and the bacchanals are an attempt by a higher civilization to reconnect with their lower instincts. They've become refined enough that they've lost their connection with their lower instincts. And I've been thinking about this in terms of, well, where is God now? Because you think at the blue level of spiral dynamics, at civilizations who are still very pious and religious, kind of like a Utah society or early America in the 17th and 18th centuries. Very pious religious people, and God guides their every move in life, and it's obvious to see where God is at that point, and that kind of loses its grip as you go up along. Maybe money might become God at another level, so God being your highest ideal, the thing you honor most, and maybe truth or materialism. Interesting to think what happens when you move beyond that level. And I'm thinking about where is God in our modern society, and it's a question that's puzzling me. Like, what is our high ideal now? And I guess thinking back to like lower levels of civilization, when we were closer to our hunter-gathering state or tribal state, we were always looking up, and we were always looking at gods as something to raise us into a more intellectual, more civilized, more peaceful kind of level. We were looking to gain control over our instincts. And I think Dionysus represents the god of a civilization that has kind of reached a zenith where it's feeling disconnection from those lower instincts. And so the ideal with the case of Dionysus, the ideal with the case of a higher society, the god of a higher society is not up but down. And this connects in with that idea I was talking about with the chakras, where instead of going up and ascending out into the universal space, in the Tao, that energy comes back down, and you bring it down into the lower Dantian. So it comes up your spine, and you channel it down, you ground it. And I think that's what the Dionysus represents, we've gotten all these gods which have raised us up to a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of civilization, but we've been cut off from our instincts in many ways. I'm thinking of Japanese or Korean society and how there's less and less breeding. Even actually this happened in a lot of Europe as well, that there's the birth rate is declining, and you see this with higher civilizations. They have less and less kids, and it seems like it's a losing touch with the baser instincts, with the lower instincts. And that's where this Dionysian idea comes in. The god Dionysus, the ideal is no longer above you but below you. And the ideal is to go down into the instincts, into those deeper parts of yourself, and to experience the ecstasy and the tumultuous energy of those lower drives, and to reconnect with them. Because that's the thing, is that like you become rarefied and we become more and more intellectual, and so there's more and more rules to society, and so you lose connection with that animal part of yourself, with the id, and it's out of that id, it's out of that animal energy that it truly rises up, and we feel the connection with the life force, but that fountain of life that rests deep within us. And so that's something that I find just so fascinating with that Dionysian ideal, and it's answered that question that I've been thinking about for years. Where are the gods now? Where are the gods now? Because I was constantly looking up, and it's when you look down, and you look down into the lower energies, and I see this with what Jung is doing, with what Jordan Peterson is doing, with what Nietzsche is doing. We're looking down to those lower instincts, we're looking down into our animal natures, and we're looking to make them part of us so that they don't possess us. And you can see the possession happening with Nazi Germany, with so many people losing themselves to immoral acts, whereas we want to honour that. And I think the Dionysian revelry, the bacchanals, was such a great way of honouring that, was to immerse yourself in that energy, to dissolve in that energy, and so you give a release valve for that deeper energy while also being nourished by it. And that's the thing with that Kundalini energy, is that it's overwhelmingly animal, so very hard to control. And that's why those yogis are supposed to take years and years to develop the ability to control it. But then if it just happens, then you can be overwhelmed. So yeah, I guess it's the wanting to tap back in into that animal nature, and I see that happening more now. We've become more and more concerned with that integration of instinct. People talking a lot about doing shadow work, or becoming grounded, and becoming more, getting back into farming and organic farming, and people doing a lot of these basic things by themselves. I know Mark Zuckerberg is trying to do one thing every year that counters his modern life, and so I think he kills his own animals, and is he making his own clothes or growing his own crops, all this kind of stuff, just really tapping into that deeper thing of just that reconnection to the earth, reconnection to growing something. And yeah, so I guess that's just what I wanted to cover. It's just the ideal is beneath us. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Living Philosophy. If you have, please give us a thumbs up down below. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments, and as ever, please subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching.